Today's video doesn't have an answer. Hey, curious kids, Kevin here. Today on A Place Called Space, we're talking about when was Mars discovered. Yeah, so, we're not sure, but here's what we do know. Ancient civilizations like the Egyptians, the Greeks, the Romans, the Chinese, Mayans, and even Australians noticed this star at night that acted a little bit different, that looked a little bit different. This star moved different than the rest of them as they observed them throughout the year. And it also had a reddish, makes sense, tint to it. That red look is how Mars got its name. Red reminded the Romans of blood, so they named it after the god of war, Mars. Mars is the Roman god of war. Now that occurred over some 4,000 years ago. We have found records documenting Mars's movement across the sky that are more than 4,000 years old. But before that, we have no idea when that first person looked up one night and just happened to be the very first human to set their eyes on the tiny reddish light in the darkness. They had no idea what it actually was, or heck, what even a planet was at that time. But they were the first. Okay, now let's speed up time just a little bit and talk about some of the people that we do know about, because so many people have contributed a lot of information over the years. So let's go back about 500 years ago in the year 1543. A man by the name of Nicholas Copernicus, you may have heard of Copernicus, theorized or proposed or gave the suggestion that Mars was a planet that orbited the sun. Now at this time, everyone thought that the Earth was the center of the universe and everything orbited around Earth. So how could Mars be a planet orbiting the sun if everything's around Earth? So this was brand new thinking. It was thought to be crazy. It was called the heliocentric theory. Helio means sun, and centric means center, so therefore it's the sun-centered theory. Now, next up is Tycho Brahe in 1576, who calculated the first accurate position of Mars. Then, in 1609, Johannes Kepler, of which the Kepler Space Telescope is named, said to everyone that Mars's orbit, or its path around the sun, was elliptical, like an oval rather than a circle, which is what everyone thought, that the planets were going around in circles. Now also in 1609, Galileo Galilei, of which the Galileo Jupiter probe was named, was the first to point a telescope to the sky at night and look through it to see Mars. 50 years later, in 1659, Christian Huygens, of which the moon Titan Huygens probe was named, observed it as well and estimated that it had about a 24-hour day, so 24 hours to go around once. Now this was later refined to about 24 hours and 40 minutes by Giovanni Cassini, of which the Cassini spacecraft was named that was orbiting Saturn a few years ago. Now we sure love naming things after our astronomers. So we have had multiple people discover some amazing things about Mars over the years, but we still don't know who actually saw it first.
I was last. I was first.
All right, lastly, let's talk about some of the out of this world stuff. I'm super excited if you can't tell. Now, in July of 1964, NASA sent the first successfully spacecraft to fly by Mars, named Mariner 4. 7 years later, Mariner 9 was the first spacecraft to enter orbit around Mars in November of 1971. Now, quickly after that, in December, same year, 1971, the Russians landed Mars 3. That's the first successfully landed spacecraft. It only worked for like 20 seconds. But speed ahead to 1997, and NASA landed the first rover on Mars named Sojourner as part of the Pathfinder mission. And most recently, April 2021, NASA flew a helicopter on Mars. Now this is the first powered flight on another planet. That's crazy. All right, now on to trivia. The answer to last week's question of which of the following doesn't have a moon is D, Venus. This week's question is, which of the following doesn't have rings? Is it A, Mercury, B, Jupiter, C, Uranus, or D, Neptune? Tune in next week to get your answer. Always be curious. Hold up, you're not done yet. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed today's video, and if you're not subscribed yet, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Also, I'd like to thank all of our future supporters on Patreon. You can become a member and support A Place Called Space for as little as 25 cents a video. It's just a quarter. Patreon supporters get shoutouts, can submit video ideas, and you'll be able to join me once a month for a live Q&A. Please check out the link below and consider joining our Patreon.